Hello, everyone. Welcome to our first day of the 100 Days of Front-End Development. I'm so excited to take you through this journey. It's going to be an amazing one. So, in today's class, we'll be talking about introduction to HTML, and we'll be talking about some few other things. But before then, I believe you have Visual Studio Code installed. If you have not, please watch the video on how to download and install Visual Studio Code. Okay, so. Um, in this lesson, we'll be taking a look at what is HTML, then how browsers render pages. Okay, we'll take a look at what is HTML and how browsers render pages. We'll also take a look at HTML document structure. All right, how is HTML structured? Okay, and then we'll also take a look at basic tags. All right, basic tags of the HTML. And then for this class, you'll be reading, please request for this book, all right? Request for this book in the WhatsApp group. Request for this book, read chapter 1 and chapter 2, all right, of this book. There's another one, Robbins, also read chapter 1 of it. Okay, so this book is available. Please ask for it in the WhatsApp group. We'll be sharing it in the WhatsApp group, okay? And then at the end of it, at the end of this lesson, you'll be creating a simple web page. This is going to be your assignment. All right. You create a simple HTML page where you'll be telling people about your name, your bio, and your favorite quote. Okay. So um, this is what you're going to be doing as an assignment, okay, at the end of this class. So let's jump into it right away, okay? So what is HTML, all right? What is HTML? HTML stands for the Hypertext Markup Language. Now, if you look at the web page, whenever you go to any web application, website, okay? Whatever you're seeing there is called a web page, all right? The things you navigate through, you navigate from one page to another, that's a web page. And HTML is what we use to write it, all right? So HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. Now, it is not a programming language. HTML is not a programming language, but it is a markup language used to store content on the web. It is a markup language. And what do we mean by markup? We're going to explain later in this session. Okay. Now, the key points you need to understand here is that hypertext refers to links. Now, the hypertext in this HTML hypertext markup language, the hypertext part of it, it shows you that with HTML pages, we can link the web. All right, we can link one content to another web content. Okay, from one web page to another web page. So the hypertext refers to links that connect to web pages. There are all the web pages in the world. All right, all the web pages on the internet. With the hypertext HTML, we can actually connect from one page to another. You can actually go from one page, from Google to Amazon, from Amazon to any other place. So the web is actually a connection. Okay, it's actually a connection of web pages. So with the hypertext property of this HTML, we can navigate, okay, from one page of the web to another. Now, the markup language means it uses tags to mark up text, images, and other content so that the browser knows how to display them. Now, let's go into more practical now. So I want to show you what it means by markup. Now, the thing is that an HTML document is like every other document at all. So please make sure you have a folder. All right. Make sure you have a folder. You can name it 100 days front end. Make sure you have a folder. So I'm going to open the folder, all right? And inside the folder, you could actually create another HTML and CSS, okay? Because we have several things we'll be learning in this 100 days. So for me, I've created a folder, I call it 100 days front end. And I can also, inside it, I'm creating another one, HTML and CSS. So I'm going to open it. So inside of it, I'm going to right click and I'm going to open it with code. All right. I'm going to open it with code. So this is how you actually look at what I'm doing. First of all, let me close. Let me go back. Okay. First of all, open the folder. All right. So once you open the folder, all right. Once you open the folder, all right. Um, create another folder, HTML and CSS. So open it. So inside this folder, right click, all right. If you don't see open with VS Code, click on show more options. Then you will see open with VS Code, with code. So this will open this folder in Visual Studio Code, okay? In case you don't know how to do this, please reach out, okay? So now, I'm going to do something. I'm just going to create a document that is not HTML. All right. I want to show you something. I will just call it no HTML. Okay. I'll just call it no HTML. And then I'm just going to type hello world. All right. And I'll save it. Then I would open it with live server. All right. If you don't know how to open this, when we are installing Visual Studio Code, I actually showed you how you can actually do this. So I have a file now, and I want to open it with the live server. I open it with live server, and then it opens. Okay. Okay. All right. So I'm going to do something else. I will go back. All right. I'm going to do something else. Okay. So I'm going to call this index. I'm going to call this index. All right. I'm just going to call it index. So I will go to okay. Sorry about that. I would I will open the live server again. Okay. Okay. All right. So my trick is not really working. Um, Okay, see what will happen. Let me go back. Sorry about this. Sorry about this. I just want to show you something. So now, basically, I'm going to open this guy only this file. I should open with. Okay. Okay, so I don't want to delete these other pages because of these pages that this thing is showing me something. Okay, but I can still go back. No problem. No problem. I can go back. Let me just show you. This is just for display um reasons. Let me just show you what I want to show you. Now, what I want to show you is this. Just forget about the thing you're seeing here. So if I open this file, oh, it's downloading. Okay, sorry about this. Um Okay. I don't want to delete these files that I have here. Uh, oh God. Okay. All right. So let me go back. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to go back to the. Okay. Sorry about this. I'm just going to go back here. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to type in this. Okay. This could be the best way. I call it index. No. Yeah. Okay. Oh, it's downloading. My trick is not working. Okay, no problem. Okay, no problem. I think I can still do this. All right, let me call it index.html. Sorry for the time. For the time, let me call it index.html. I just want to show you something. So now, if I go back to the browser and I refresh this, okay, so I'm so sorry. This is what I want to show you. Now, the document, anything you're seeing here, all right, look at this. Let me open ChatGPT. You see, this is a document. This is a web page. This is a web page. All right. Now I want to explain what I mean by markup. All right. This is a web page. So a web page is just like a document, an HTML document. Okay. That's what we have here. We just have a document, just like you can have Word document or any other document at all. All right. Now the thing is that you can see that I don't have any markup here. I do not have any. This is just a plain text. This is the content of this page. But the thing is that the browser can still display it. The browser can still display this content. But if I now put it in markups, now this is what we mean by markups. You see this HTML, all these things in blue, all these tags, all these things in blue. This is what we mean by markup. Okay, so when you use a markup, all right, now we are using HTML proper. All right, now we can still, when you use a markup, the browser will display whatever you're displaying differently. You can see here that we are not using any markup here. We are not using any tags, any elements. We are not using any of them here. But the browser still displays it. The browser still displays it here. All right, we still have this hello world, but there is no markup. It's just displaying it. With this, all right, it wouldn't make too much sense. But when you're using markup, all these tags are the markups. All right. So when we say that HTML is a markup language, it means that we are using tags to mark up text, images, and other content. You can just take out any document at all, any content of any document, and paste it in that HTML page without using a markup, and the browser will still display it. But then without a markup, the content will not make sense. So we are breaking down this HTML hypertext markup language. We are breaking it down, and the hypertext part of it is telling you that it refers to links. All right, it tells you that web pages are linked together using these hypertext links. All right, so HTML makes it very, very possible. And then the markup language part shows that we use markups, we call it annotations. We use markups to annotate the content that we want to display on the web. All right, so we use markups, we call them tags. Okay, so now what does HTML do? It defines the structure of web pages. All right, HTML defines the structure of web pages. If I go back to ChatGPT, all right, if I go back to ChatGPT, this is a structure. ChatGPT has structured all this. This is what ChatGPT has structured the content of this web page using HTML. So we are using HTML to structure web pages, all right, something like headings, paragraphs, lists, links, images. So we'll be talking about them later on. But this HTML gives you the structure of the web page. However you want to structure the web page, all right, you use HTML to structure it. Okay, so let me show you an example of what I mean. You can see that within the body, I'm coming to this later on. We are structuring this. If I open this, if I run this code, if I go to day1.html, all right, you're going to see how the whole thing is structured. If I go to day1.html, sorry, day1.html, okay, you can see that it has a structure. Don't bother, we are going to explain all these things, what they do and how we did it. But you can see that there is a structure. You can see we have this caption is bigger than this one, and is bigger than this one, and so on. And you can see here we are having some paragraphs here. We are having some paragraphs. All right, and you can see we have something that was this. Look at this thing. This thing was actually highlighted differently. All right. So this is the structure. HTML gives your web page the structure. Then when HTML works together with CSS, we can now style it. And also with JavaScript, you add interactivity with it. So don't worry, these are the things you're going to be learning for some people who are just beginners, okay? So now, to create HTML page, it is as simple as doing this. Look at what I'm going to do, okay? To create HTML page, it's as simple as doing this. Just when you open your Visual Studio Code, when you get into that folder, all right, just select this new file, or you can just right click here and select new file. And when you click on new file, it will ask you for the name. Give it any name. You can just name it, hello.html. So when you end the file name with .html, the Visual Studio Code will know that this is an HTML page. All right, it will know that this is an HTML page. So you can now start writing. All right, so this is how you create an HTML page. All right, let me create another one. Click on this icon here that says new file, or you right click and click on new file. All right, but I can just go with this one. I just go and click on this new file. I'll just call it um, hi.html. It must end with dot. The name of the file must end with .html. And once you do it, Visual Studio Code would highlight it. Okay, so this is how you create HTML file. Okay, so HTML is used to structure the web page, and everything that you're seeing on the page, on the web page, on the web, they are called web pages. All right, just like you saw the chat GPT, everything that you're seeing on your browser is called a web page. Okay, they can contain HTML elements. We are coming to that later on. Okay, and HTML always work with CSS to style. If you want to style the web page and give it some styling, all right, you use CSS. If you want to add some interactivity to it, you use JavaScript. Okay, so HTML, you don't build a web page with HTML alone. You work with CSS and JavaScript. Okay, so how does the browser render pages? Remember, when you're building web applications, you're actually getting users to go to a particular web page. So if you want to go to our website now, the Global Genius, okay? If you want to go to the Global Genius, all you have to do is you just have to type the URL. So this is the URL. So all you have to do is to type the URL. Once you type the URL in the browser will go and get you the page. So if you type chatgpt.com, it will bring this web page for you. Okay? So now, how does the browser render pages? Now, you already know what a browser is. This is the Chrome browser. I believe you're using other browsers too. Okay, so this browser is a software. The job of this browser is to fetch web pages and then display it to users. Whether you're using your mobile browser or you're using a desktop browser, they all do the same thing. Their job is to fetch web pages. What you're seeing here now is a web page. This 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 WhatsApp web is also a web page. Okay, so all these things are web pages and they are built using HTML, and they are built with, you see the styling that you're seeing here, the color and every other thing you're seeing here, they are built, you use CSS to style it. And if you want interactivity, if I click on this button now, you see it will take me somewhere. All right. So now we use HTML and CSS and JavaScript to build web pages. Now, what is the job of the browser? The job of the browser is to fetch web pages. When you give it the address, all right, all you have to do is to tell the browser, when you open a new browser, all right, you give the address, you tell the browser's job is to fetch web pages for you. So it's your job to now tell the browser, okay, I want you to go to google.com for me. If you say google.com, all right, now this is called the domain name. All right, this is called the domain name of Google. So this is the address. Every web page has an address. Every resource on the web has an address. All right, every resource on the web has an address. So when you say google.com, all right, the browser will go and fetch whatever is on google.com. So if I click on this now, it will fetch google.com for me. So this is just a web page. This is a simple web page. All right, this is the Google home page. This is a simple web page. All right, so the browser you have given it there, you must give it the address. That's the URL. All right, Uniform Resource Locator. You give it the URL, all right, and the browser there's something we call DNS, Domain Name System, all right. Don't bother, it's beyond the scope of this lesson. So, but don't bother. Once you give the browser the URL, all right, most times it should start with HTTPS or HTTP / blah, blah, blah. So this is the URL of Google web page, their homepage. So when you give the browser the address and hit enter, all right, the browser will go and fetch the web page for you. The browser will go and fetch it from a server. So when you type a URL like http whatever.com and you hit enter, the browser sends a request to something we call a server. All right, the browser will send a request to something we call a server. All right, so your browser, your Chrome, your Firefox, or your Safari, they send HTTP request to a web server asking for the page. Now, when you look at what we just did, we typed in this URL and the browser sent a request to google.com. Now let me show you something. Let me show you this request. So I'm going to right click on this browser. I'll click on inspect. All right. When I click on inspect, all right, on my this will open up. This will open up. So if I click on network, all right, you're going to see something. I'm going to refresh. Okay, so we have made a request. The browser has made a request. All right. Don't bother if you don't understand what is happening here. It's okay. It's okay. All right. The browser has made a request, and these are the things that the browser got from the web server. Okay, so these are the things the browser sent a request. The browser sent plenty requests. Okay, and these are the responses that came. So if you can see, these are the types of resources. So if I click on any one now, let me say I click on, let me click on this image. You can see this is the request. Let me expand this. You can see this is the request. All right. But there's something we call header, the headers. Okay. So this is the request URL. This is the request URL. All right. And this is the request method, the status code, the remote address. Now this is the IP address of Google. All right. But you cannot type, if I copy this thing now, all right, if I copy this thing now and paste it in another browser, it will also get me, it will resolve it. Okay. No. Okay, so this is not, this is for the page, for this particular resource. It's not the Google. I believe this Google is a single page application, so it might not give us what we are looking for. I'll try. Okay, but I can actually do something here with any of the HTML page. Okay, so let me close this. So let me take, okay, this is HTML file. So if I take this guy and go here and paste it. Okay, it didn't resolve to what I was looking for. Okay, so, all right. Now, these are the requests. Okay, so the browser, when I hit enter, the browser made a lot of requests and requested for all these things. Okay, and you can see the types of resources. This one is an HTML page. This is an image, an image, an image. This is HTML page. This is an image, an image. Okay, so these are the things you're seeing here. These things you see here, that's what you're seeing here. Just Okay, that's exactly what you're seeing here. Let me put this guy up here. I'm sorry if this is confusing you. Okay, so this is switch to Chrome to enhance self browsing. No. Okay, so we make this request again. Watch. Now you can see everything you're seeing on this page, they are here. So you can see some of the requests are still making. They're still making some of the requests. All right, you can see some of them are just coming now. Okay, so all the things you're seeing on this page like this, they are here. You see this search, I saw something like search here. The search box. You see this search box, all right? I think it's this icon here. Okay, so everything you're seeing here, they are here. So they were first. So the browser made a request to the server, and the server came back with a response. So these are the response. Okay, don't worry. As we go on, you would understand better. When you also read the books, you would understand better. So the server will respond with HTML. It's not only HTML, it can also respond with images and CSS. Okay, and even JavaScript. So the server sends back an HTML file, possibly with CSS, JavaScript, and images. So you just saw it now. You just saw it now. Look at it. Let's make another request again. Let's hit enter. Okay, you can see the response are coming. Now these are the responses. They are coming. So we made a request to the server. All right. The server is where all these files that you see, all these files that all this HTML file is actually hosted or being served from a server. So all these things are not on my computer. They are on Google's server. So, but I use my browser to make a request. All right. And then the server gave them to me. All these things you're seeing here. So the browser will make a request. The server will respond. And once the server responds, the browser will now pass the HTML. All right. So Now, pay close attention. The browser, whatever the server gave the browser in HTML, the browser will pass it. What we mean by passing is that the browser will read the HTML line by line, line by line. All right. And once it reads it line by line, it will create something we call the document object model. It's like a tree. Okay. It will create something we call the document object model, and that it is an in-memory stuff. So it will not use it. Okay. So all the tags that you're seeing, they will all they will turn to nodes. Okay, don't worry. As we go on, we'll understand the browser, the document object model when we talk about JavaScript. In JavaScript, we'll be discussing this document object model. But the thing is that it will turn. Let me show you something. You see this HTML page that I have here. All right. You see this HTML page that I have here. Okay. Once this is on the server now, all right? If I use the browser, now look at this HTML here. So if I want to access this HTML, it's actually running on a browser. So on a server, sorry. So if I want to go to that server, my server this is the address of my server. All right. So if I do this and say blah 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 this address / day1.html and hit enter, the browser will give the server will serve us this. So let me also right click and let's see. This video might be lengthy, but just enjoy it. Okay. I'll click on network. So let me reload. I'll just reload this. I'll refresh this page. Remember, if there's anything that is confusing, you always reach out to us for more explanation. So I hit network and I refresh. Okay, so this is what I got. All right, you see, I got this day1 HTML, which is what I was serving. You see the day1 HTML. There is no CSS because I didn't specify any CSS. Okay, but this is what we are concentrating on. You see, this was sent. Okay, then once you make this request to this resource using the URL, all right, this guy, the server will serve you this day1.html. And once this day1.html is served, the browser will now pass it. The browser is going to read it line by line. All the things that you see we have here, all right, all this is the document that the server served us. The browser requested for this document and the server served us. All these things you're seeing here, the browser will read it line by line. After reading line by line, it will now create something we call a document object model. Don't worry, we'll discuss it in details later on. And then once it does that, that is what it will now use to create this thing you're seeing here. All the things you're seeing here. Okay, so let's go back. So tags, h1, paragraph, div, they will become nodes in the tree. Now, attributes like class and ID, they'll also be added as properties. Don't worry, we would talk about document object model later on. So then if there's any CSS that is applied, all right, the browser will download and apply the CSS. So if you look at this one now, I included this CSS here, but the thing is that I do not have it. I do not have it. So because I included it here, the browser will try to download it. So if we go back, all right, the browser tried to download it, look at it here, but it didn't find it because it's not in the server. So once the browser saw that there is CSS, it will try to download it. And it will also make another request to the server, but now the server will say, oh no, I did not see it. It's not available. That's why it is a status code of 404 and is in red. So had it found it, it will download it, and then it will download it and then use it to style. Then it will calculate where every element should appear on the screen, then use the CSS to style the document. Okay. Now, if there's any JavaScript, the browser would also run it, will execute the JavaScript. So when we start adding JavaScript to our HTML, you're going to understand better. Okay. When we start adding CSS, you're also going to understand better. So this might change the DOM. All right. This might change if you have anything that the JavaScript is doing to change the DOM, it will change the DOM. But let us leave it till we talk about DOM manipulation, okay, in JavaScript. So if there is any JavaScript, the browser would download it too, just like the way it downloaded the CSS. The browser would download it, and then it will be available And then once it has downloaded all these things, it will now render it to the screen. It will now render it to the screen. There's something we call rendering engines. The browser, there's a software on every browser. There's a software on every browser. That software is called the rendering engine. So the rendering engine is the rendering engine would take the DOM. You remember, once the browser gets the HTML from the server, it will pass it to make sure that they are correct. All right, they are well written. All right, then it will download CSS and use it to style the DOM. It will also download JavaScript. Now, once it has done all these things, it will now take it and draw it on the screen. That is what you now see. That is what you now see. So if I take you back to something like Google, if I take you back, okay, let me take you back here. This is our web page. Now, if I do this, if I refresh this page, all right, the browser would make a request to the server that is serving this our platform. It will get all the HTML, download all the CSS, download all this JavaScript. And once it has done that, it will now draw it. That is why you're seeing this thing on the screen. But the thing is that it happens in milliseconds, very, very fast. You will not even notice that it is going and doing this and doing that. All right. So it will first of all make a request to the server of this application. Then the server will serve it this home page. All right. Then it will make a request for the CSS, make a request for the JavaScript and download them. And then it will now use them to draw this thing that you're seeing on the screen. So what draws that is what we call the rendering engine. All right. We have Blink in Chrome and we have WebKit in Safari. These are the two major rendering engines. So now there's this rendering engine is just a software that will take the DOM that had been created by the browser and then draw it on the screen. All right. So in summary, this is the first step. The browser will make a request. If you give it the URL, the browser will make a request, ask the server. The browser would resolve the address. Just give it the browser the address. The browser will go and look for it, get the server that is hosting the web page, and then make a request to the server. The server would respond with that web page. Then the browser will pass HTML. This passing means validating it, checking it if it is correct. If you write if you don't write HTML that is well written, all right, the browser will flag it as an error. Okay, so now it will pass the HTML. After passing the HTML, it will now build the DOM tree from the HTML. After building it, it will apply CSS. It will look for the CSS, download the CSS, apply the CSS to the DOM based on the CSS rules that you gave it. And then if there's any JavaScript to be run, it will run the JavaScript. After that, the rendering engine, Blink or WebKit, will now draw the final layer that you're seeing on your screen. All right? That is how it works. So visualization of the process, HTML, once the browser gets the HTML from the server, it will pass it, create the DOM tree, add CSS, pass the CSS, create another object model tree for the CSS. Then it will now merge this DOM and the CSS object model and render the DOM tree, the layer, paint and display it. That is what you now see on the screen. All right, please, if you have any question, all right, please reach out to us. Like we always say, reach out to us, drop a comment, drop your question on the WhatsApp group. Okay, now let's take a look at HTML document. All right, let's take a look at how you structure. Remember that the HTML document is the standard, has a standard structure, and this is the structure you use to structure your web page. It is like the building blocks of the web page. Okay, so every HTML document has a standard structure to help browsers understand and render the page correctly. All right, so the first thing in an HTML page is this doc type HTML. That's the first thing. Look at the HTML I have here. Look at the HTML. You can see the first thing here is this. That's the first thing. That's the first thing you see here. Right, in this HTML page, the first thing you see here is this. Okay, now this is the document type declaration. What does it do? All right. It starts with angle bracket, less than angle bracket, exclamation mark, then doc type, space, HTML, then you close the. Now this is called anchor tags, all right, closing, opening and closing tags. So what does it do? It tells the browser that this document is HTML5. I don't want to go into the history of HTML, but we used to have HTML1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all right? Then, normally, there are some web pages that you go and you see that they would indicate that the HTML is HTML 4.5, all right? But when you do HTML, this doc type and just put this HTML like this, you're telling the browser that this document is HTML5 document. All right, so the browser knows that it's HTML5 document. Okay, it also helps the browser to render the page in standard modes. All right, and then it's not case sensitive, but we usually write it in uppercase. So what it means is that I can just take this whole doc type like this and just use lower cases or true. So when we say something is case sensitive, it means that I can go back to my HTML page and instead of making it all caps, I'll just do something like this, doc type, and it will be perfect. It will work okay. There'll be no issues. So whether you use all caps or you don't use all caps, it doesn't matter. Okay. So now, why is it important? This is the first thing you see there. It is important. It's not an HTML tag. It's just a declaration. It is not a tag. The browser is not going to render it. Okay, but it's just to tell the browser that, oh, this my document is an HTML5 document. It is not HTML3 or HTML2 or HTML 4.5. It is for HTML5 document. And you must have it. You must have it. Okay, so another, after the doc type declaration, the next thing you see is this HTML. The opening tag and the closing tag. So let me show you step by step. So you can see the closing opening tag and the closing tag. Okay, so what I'm going to do is that let me build from scratch. Let me build from scratch. The first thing you have there is you say anchor, this anchor bracket, and you use exclamation mark, and you do doc type. Okay, we usually write it in all caps and you say HTML. What does this do? This is declaring to the browser that this page is an HTML5 document. Then after that, the next thing you do is anchor tag HTML and you close it. All right. And then you do this one, you open another one, do this HTML. So now look at what I have just done. This HTML right now is called, this is an HTML element. But from here to here, everything that I have highlighted now is called HTML, is called an element. All right. But an element consists of the opening tag and the closing tag. You can see the difference between the closing tag. All right. The closing tag has a / before the HTML. Pay close attention to these small details. Okay. So now, in between, you will now have the content. This is the content. So if you look at the one I have here, this is the one. All right. Everything in between here, everything like this is the content of this HTML. All right. So, but for now, we don't have any content yet. So if I delete this, so this is an HTML element. All right. This is the opening tag. All right. And this is the closing tag. So this is the root element of the HTML document. This is the root element of the HTML document. Then let me go and show you something. Okay. Now, if you take a look at this, our page, all right, if I click on elements, you can see, look at it. This is the root element. Okay. It is the root element. This is your document. This is everything that you have here. All right. Everything we have in this HTML. This is it. So if okay, look at it here. So this is the root element. Okay. So the HTML document, the HTML tag or the HTML element is the root element. This is the root. Every other thing inside of a document, a HTML document will be inside of this HTML element. Okay. Now, everything on the page goes inside of this tag. Just like I said, the opening and the closing tags, the content will be inside. What does it do? It wraps all content. It will have two children. All right, this HTML element will have two children, all right, the head and the body. Okay, if I go and I'll show you, this is, if I come here, you'll see that this is the head and this is the body. So it will have head element, all right, and I also close it. I can put it in a separate, oh, sorry, this is not spelled correctly. So I can close it / then I will say head. So this is another element. We'll talk about it later. And then the next one is the body. Okay, so these are the two children. An HTML element must only have two children. Only two children. Okay, all right, only two children. To have only two children. So I have formatted it now and it looks better. There are no contents yet. So usually includes a lang attribute. You can add this lang attribute. Every element have attributes. We'll talk about that later on. Every element have attributes. So you can include the lang attribute. This lang attribute is telling the browser, oh, I'll be using English language. It's telling the browser, if I say inside of this, I say an attribute like this is equal to, if I say en-us, these attributes are used to give extra information about elements. The browser will always look for attributes. With the attribute, they will get extra information about this element. So with this extra attribute, the browser will know that, okay, this document is using English language and it is US English, okay? So you can see it HTML, the lang is equal to en. You can say en, which is normal English, or you can use en-us, okay? Then this is the content and this is the closing tag. Every element must start with a closing opening tag and close with a closing tag. The next one you will see is the head. I've already shown you the head. The head contains metadata. They contain information about the page, not shown directly on the page. The head section, all right, the head section, look at this, everything we have here, all right, this is the head section, this is the head element. Everything inside of this head element will not show. They will not show you. When we open this browser, you will not see this thing at all on the browser. They will not show. But the browser will use everything that is here for extra information about the page. All right? The browser will use this information to render the page better. So the head tag, the head element contains metadata, information about the page that are not shown, they will not be shown to the page. What goes in, the page title goes in here, the links to CSS files goes into the page, into the head, links for font or icons, and meta tags for SEO and responsive design. All these things, scripts. Now, it's not advisable to put your JavaScript script on the head, but unless the script has to run before the page loads, because why? It will delay the loading page of the application. But if at all that the script needs to be run before the page loads, no problem, you can run it, you can put it there. Okay, so all these things are what you can see in the head section. Look at it. We have the metadata. This metadata, all right, we have the title of this page. We have the link to CSS. You could also have links to icons. You could also have links to JavaScript. Okay, so these are the things that enter the head section. Okay, when you read the books that we are giving you, you would understand better. The body contains everything that is visible to the user. Look at it. Everything that we have inside this body, that is what we are seeing. Look at it. It starts with main title and ends with she said it was really good. All right. So if I go to our browser now, you can see these are the things that we have in the body. Look at the body here. Look at the body. Okay. Everything that you see here is what we have here. But none of the head section was displayed here. None of the content of the head was displayed here. So everything you're seeing in the body is what you display on the page. So anything you want to be displayed on the page, you put it inside the body. All right, the headings, this is the content of your web page. Don't worry, we'll be doing more of this later. Okay, so a quick visual. All right, the document, this declaration declares that this is HTML5. The HTML element is the root element, and the HTML element would have head and body. All right, it will have the head. The head will contain meta information and page setup. Then the body is visible, is the visible page content. So this is the structure of your HTML. It starts with the doc type, declaration, the HTML, all right, the opening tag and the closing tag. Then inside of it, you have the head, the opening tag and the closing tag. Then the metadata stuff will be, the content will be inside, and this is how it works, okay? Now let's take a look at some basic HTML tags. All right, we have the heading 1 to heading 6. Okay, so when you're it's just a newspaper, a newspaper is a document. So the newspaper document, if you want to the same thing that you have in the newspaper document, you can also replicate it on a web page. So all those headings, subheadings, all right, we use the H1 to H6 to define them. Headings are used to define titles and subtitles in your content. But before I forget, you can only have one H1. H1 is the largest and most important heading. You can only have one on a web page. Don't have more than two. Don't have more than one. You only have one on a web page. Then H6 is the smallest and the least important. So the browsers will render each heading with decreasing font size from H1 to H6. So look at what we have here. Look at you see what we have here. We have from H1 to H6. So if I go to the browser now, you can see that H1, look at the H1, okay? Look at H2, look at H3. So if you have headings like this, you can use the headings tags. All right, so this is one of the tags we use in the browser. Okay, so H1, H2, H3. Okay, so you can see the main title, the session title, the subtitle, subsection title, subsection, smaller headings, and tiniest heading. Why is it important? It helps to organize content hierarchically. Hope I pronounce this very well. All right. Pardon my English. I do not speak good English anymore, and I don't care. All right. Okay. So H1. All right, this heading structure, it will help you to organize your content. When you see something that has H1, that it will be bigger than every other one. Okay, so search engines use them to understand your page's structure. All right, it helps search engine to organize your page's structure. Okay, well, another one, we also have paragraph. Just like in a newspaper, if you're writing in a document, you want to have some paragraphs. Okay, so you can also have paragraphs. Paragraphs are used for blocks of text. Just like when you're writing a letter or you're writing a document, you put them in blocks of text. Okay, so look at what we mean by paragraphs. You use the P tag. This is a paragraph. These are blocks of text. You use the P tag, remember to close it, and the content to be inside. So every element has three things: the opening tag, the content, and the closing tag. We also have some elements that we call empty elements or self-closing elements. They are empty, they don't have content. We'll talk about them later, okay? So you can see everything that we have here, they came on the browser on a different line. Look at it, they came on a block of text. They're on their own, just like you will have a normal paragraph on a document, okay? So you use the P tag to create a new paragraph with space before and after it by default. So each paragraph should wrap one logical block of text, just like the way you write paragraphs in a document. So if you want to write a paragraph in your document, you use the P tag, the paragraph tag. Okay, so these are some examples. All right. So we also have something we call the emphasis. We have the strong element and the EM element. So these elements, they will add emphasis. They give meaning to text. All right. We also have the bold, the B tag. All right. The B tag would also make the text to be bold, but they will not add these things. We call them semantic elements. We have structural elements and semantic elements. Structural elements is just there for structuring, but semantic elements, they add meaning to text, and browsers use this meaning to render these elements differently. So with the strong element, okay, it represents strong importance, and it will be highlighted. So if I go to the file, you will see here, I'm using this to, the browser will see that, oh, this is something of strong importance. All right. So I'm putting the content inside of the closing and the opening and closing tags of this strong element. So if I go to the browser now, you're going to see that this guy will be highlighted in bold. You see, it is highlighted in bold. We can also use the B tag to do the same thing, but the B tag will not give any meaning. If you're not, if you just want to make something very bold and you don't want to add any meaning to it, no problem, you can use the B tag. But if you want to add extra meaning for the browser to use it, the browser, you use the strong tag. So you see the strong tag will make it bold, and you can see the EM will make it italic. We also have the I tag for italic, but those are just for structural purposes. They are not for semantic reasons. Okay, so they are usually rendered as bold. You can see here, this is a strong information. Okay, so now the emphasis, the EM, represent emphasis, like stressing a word in a speech. So when there's something we call what's it called again? Oh my God. Assistive technologies, the screen readers, they make use of this thing. So don't worry, you're going to learn semantic HTML soon. Okay, you understand better. So these are rendered in italics. Okay, so this content of this EM will be rendered in italic. I've shown you that already. Okay, so now thank you very much. There are more tags you're going to be taking a look at. Read the books that we ask you to read. All right, read the books that we ask you to read. You're going to understand more. And if you have any question, please drop it in the WhatsApp group. And then make sure you do write your test. Make sure you do your assignments. And I'll see you in the next class. I can't wait to see you in the next class. Thank you very much, and see you in the next class.